Bueno, señoras y señores, bienvenidos a mi canal. Es un honor estar de vuelta acá con ustedes. Hoy les traigo a uno de los mejores cantantes que he conocido en mi vida. Él es Eric Martin, es un cantante de la banda estadounidense MR.BIG. Eh, Así que bueno, él ha nacido en Long Island, Nueva York, en el año 1960. Y bueno, vamos a hacerle varias preguntas sobre su historia, su vida, pues cómo comenzó con la música, toda su etapa con la banda, con MR.BIG. Así que bueno, I would like to introduce you one of my favorite and greatest singers for me of all time, the one and only Eric Martin. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor for me to have you here.
Yeah,
The first
man.
question, the first,
I,
yes.
it blows my mind when this doesn't usually happen, where like somebody goes, "Hey, welcome to the show," but you just paid me so many compliments right now. You took me off my guard a little bit. Now I'm all nervous. All right.
No problem. I want to ask you, in the early days, you start playing music as a drummer. Which was the main reason that you decided to switch to singing, and why?
Well, my father was a drummer, and before he joined the Army, he was a professional musician, and he used to he wasn't a traveling musician. He was mainly a guy that would work. He worked in Cincinnati, Ohio, and a lot of all the big artists from the 40s, 50s, 60s used to come through Cincinnati, and like the singers, and they needed a band. My dad was like the first call for drummer. Anyway, he's getting kind of popular and around that, the Cincinnati area and Ohio and the Midwest. And then he joined the Army and became, very successful in the Army. But when I came along, he passed those drums down to me. I mean, it's hard to play drums through a 2-hour show. I really got to hand it to guys like Pat Torpey or John Bonham or any of those like great drummers period. I just didn't have the stamina to play a 2-hour show. But when I was a kid, I had a lot of fun with it. Had played a few shows, but I was in a band, like a little band called The Buzz, Buzzz, infinity. And the singer did the little band that I had, a bass player, guitar player, me, and then we had a singer, and the singer didn't show up to rehearsal. And around that time, I think Rare Earth, there was a band called Rare Earth, and they did Motown songs, and they did a song by the Temptations, I think it was called "Get Ready, 'Cause Here I Come," and I played drums and sang at the same time just because the singer didn't show up. And one of the guys in the band goes, just completely blunt, no filter. And he goes, "Man, you're a way better singer than you are a drummer." I think that's pretty much how it happened. I wasn't as good. He was right. I wasn't as good as drummer as I was a singer. And I learned how to be a singer. I kind of did it without vocal lessons and, any kind of teaching for a long, long time. And then when I grew up to be about, maybe in my 20s, that's when I started to take it really serious and do vocal lessons and all kinds of vocal exercises and all that. But yeah, that's why I became a singer, because I sucked as a drummer. I grew up listening to artists from the 60s, mainly Motown. And there was these two record companies, Stax and Volt Records, Stax Volt. They had a lot of great artists on there. Like, Otis Redding, he was one of my favorites. Wilson Pickett. And I think I lived in Europe when I was a kid, and whatever was on the radio back in the, God, what was it, 60s, late 60s, was mainly Motown and some bubblegum pop stuff, but I like the Motown, the R&B. And then when I moved to the United States, I'm backtracking. My dad was stationed in Europe. So when we moved back to the United States, that's when I started getting into Paul Rogers, who is my hero from the band Free and Bad Company and The Firm. Anyway, Paul Rogers is my hero. I could just stop now, but there's a few more. I mean, I really liked Rod Stewart because I like these guys like Paul Rogers, Rod Stewart, Frankie Miller, and then later on Lou Gramm, even Ronnie James Dio. They all had this kind of cool rock and soul sound to them, and it was really, I can't think of a better adjective. I mean, I was just focused on those talents,
Yeah.
And I tried to emulate Paul Rogers for years. I could never get that. I mean, I have some rock and soul, definitely, but his timbre and his voice, he just has this, I don't know. He's older and he had that kind of cool lower end. And I love that. I met Paul Rogers, good, probably like, I don't know how many years, let's just say 6 years ago. And I was at an award show. Long story short, I was backstage in this green room. There was all these, rock stars and crew people. And Paul Rogers, I actually got a ride to the event with him and a couple other people. And Paul and I came in the room, and all these rock stars stopped talking, and they were just like looking at us. It was surreal because everybody probably would say Paul Rogers is their big influence.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm talking to him, and I told him, I think it was the Isle of Wight festival, but one of those festivals, Texas Jam, or I don't remember where it was, but he's singing on stage, and I think he has 2 microphones taped together, and he's singing, and I think his tooth is missing.
Yeah, it's true.
And
that's that show, the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight show.
Yeah, Isle of Wight. And I came up we're talking, and I was trying to keep it cool. My wife was with me. He had his lady friend with him, and we're both, the couples are talking. And then all of a sudden I go, remember when you were at the Isle of Wight? And I'm sweating and I'm talking. And I go, you had a tooth missing, and you're up there and you're singing away. And he's like going, I totally felt so stupid. But my wife looked at him, and she looked at me, and she said, I've never seen him like this before. He's completely mesmerized. He's blown away by you and your presence. Anyway, it was so cool to meet him. And I think a year or 2 later, there was a Super Bowl, and had this big Super Bowl party, and Paul Rogers played, and all these artists were there. I remember there was like all the artists, and there was me playing, and then Pat Travers, I think, played, and then Paul Rogers, and he had a band backing him up. And he's just about to finish his show, and he kind of reaches back, back the curtain, and he says to any artist out there, and he goes, hey, does anybody want to join me? In his English accent. I can't, I can't do an English accent just for the life of me. But he reaches the curtain back, and he goes, hey, does anybody want to come up and sing All Right Now with me?
Wow. And
there was country people, and there was a couple other artists, and a lot of younger rock artists, and they're all kind of going, and I'm like, I will do it.
Yeah.
And he goes, come on. So I came up, and I got to sing a verse of All Right Now with my idol.
Wow.
And all the other rock stars are kind of going, oh, should have went up there. Anyway, yeah.
That's amazing.
I wasn't the lead singer of Toto. I auditioned for Toto, and I was, you know, kind of auditioning for them for a good week. Actually, I went in and met all the guys. I mean, I knew Steve Lukather. He had played on a couple of my solo albums, and let's see, he played on my solo album, and the whole Toto band came up to see me in San Francisco when I was playing like with my own band, Eric Martin Band, and I went to LA and just you know, sang all the songs you can imagine, you know, Hold the Line and Africa and Georgie Porgy and Pamela and God, what else? Rosanna, all the songs. And then I thought I was going to fly home back to San Francisco, and they go, no, we'd like you to stay a couple days. And a couple days became 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. I think it was almost like 10 days of just an audition. And I really thought I had the gig. And I think they were doing the album Fahrenheit. And I went to David Page's house, and right next to his house, I think it was right next to his house. So it was dark, it was on a hill. And it was the recording studio. It was called The Manor. And I went in there and I sang. I listened to this song with Steve Lukather doing a vocal, like a vocal track on it. And it was called I'll Be Over You. Nobody heard it yet. I'm like, and I'll be over you. And I'm checking this out. And they go, yeah, can you do that? And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I go, well, Luke, why don't you do this song? He goes, well, I don't know. You know, I want to hear a lead singer do it. I'm like, God, you are a lead singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I did it, but I felt uncomfortable doing it because he did such an amazing job with it, you know, and I've actually never heard him sing before.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. And then I sang a little piece of Fahrenheit, and I could do it now. I swear to God, I did a couple records. I did like 3 records prior to doing the Toto thing. And I thought I was the funk master or the soul guy. And I couldn't get the timing of Fahrenheit. My whole background is funk and soul and R&B. And I just couldn't get it. I was embarrassed that I couldn't get it. And I remember David Page. I've never talked about this before, but David goes, yeah, we'll come back to that. And then I was like, I feel chills. After the first album, and then we did a tour, and it was kind of the struggling time, you know, lean into it. We got to take our time with production. There was no rush. It was I think we did some of it in my hometown, and outside of San Francisco. It was in Oakland. It was at Fantasy Recording Studios, and then we also did it at Rumbo Recording Studios in Woodland Hills in LA. And it was just a comfortable setting. You know, sometimes when you do records and the record company's going, come on, we need it quick, go quick. And you just feel so much pressure. It stifles your creativity, I think, you know, and just too much pressure. Being into it, we had to take our time. We wrote songs as a band. I had started to write with a guy I met. His name is Andre Pessis. And I actually met him through Jonathan Cain from Journey. And I met Andre, and we just started writing all kinds of songs, solo kind of songs. And then when it was the opportunity to do Lean Into It, I asked Andre, hey, Paul sent me some songs like he always does. We call them sniglets. They're like just little ideas. I don't know why they call them sniglets. I don't really know. Sounds like a dog cookie. Yeah. But he was, I mean, I'm not bullshitting it. It would be like 50 to 100 ideas. Wow. And they were like, yeah, the first album, it was like the first album, Sniglets were on cassettes. Lean Into It, we're on CDs, Sniglet CDs. And there were tons of ideas. If he liked an idea he was doing, he'd do another track of some kind of a different way of the same idea. They weren't finished songs at all. They were just like pieces. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of the CDs, he called it, because I was listening to the other day to get some ideas. I mean, since Mr. Big is, thinking about putting the hat and shoes on again this year, I thought, well, maybe they'll do a record. Nobody's talked about it, but like I always think that in my head, and it inspires me because Mr. Big was my favorite band to write for. And so the idea of going out on tour with Mr. Big, and I just kind of felt I was motivated to write songs lately. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm backtracking. Lean Into It. It was so comfortable. I wrote with Andre and Paul and Billy and Pat. Daddy Brother was a song that I remember Paul came into the studio and he goes, God, I just did this interview and somebody asked me, how fast can I play? And he goes, well, stupid question. How fast do you play? It was like, what kind of thing like that? And he, as a joke, he glued guitar picks at the end of a drill bit, a Makita Japanese drill bit. And he goes, this fast, and it was kind of a joke, but I think he wrote a song around it. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. Because when I first heard it, I thought, wow, what a cool driving song idea. And then he played this drill song. I was like, going, oh God. But it's Paul Gilbert. That's his humor and all that. And it worked. Yeah. And then Billy actually came up with the words in the beginning. He came up with daddy, brother, lover, little boy. And some of the words just didn't work for me anyway. Or our producer, Kevin Elson, he goes, Billy, do you mind if Eric and his partner, Andre, take a stab at it? And he goes, yeah, go for it. And we wrote it, and that came together pretty quickly. Alive and kicking, kind of a cool blues rocker. I mean, all the songs came pretty quick. I remember, I think My Kind of Woman is on there. And I remember when I first met Paul Gilbert, I used to go to LA all the time and write songs with Mr. Big, right? And I'd be driving back and forth, and I couldn't afford a hotel, so I would stay with Paul. I remember one day we were like cooking some breakfast. He was cooking some breakfast in a wok. That's a whole different kind of weird. He makes eggs in a wok, like a Japanese wok. Yeah. But I thought, oh man, this dude's like weird. He's a weird here. But it works. I do it too. Anyway, I don't know why I told you that. It just kind of came together. And he said, yeah, I'm working on this song. Dun, 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 dun. And he taught me how to play it. I go, we should write that. And we never did. And then Lean Into It. He wrote it. We wrote it together. Yeah. Great stuff. Never told that story before. Never Say Never is a song on there that I was writing with the band, and I was writing with Andre, mainly lyrics. I wanted to, I don't know why I went to Canada for something, but I met Jim Vallance, who wrote all those hits with Bryan Adams. He wrote the lyrics and with Bryan, and I guess Bryan wrote the melodies, kind of almost the same vibe that I had with Andre Pessis. And I worked together with Jim, and I wrote that song Never Say Never with him. And then To Be With You was a song I had since a little kid, like trying to impress my sister's girlfriends. I wrote it about a girl that I really liked. Her name was Patricia. She lived in the neighborhood, beautiful Gothic, Cleopatra looking chick. I mean, what a gorgeous woman. And she was so cool to me, and we were kind of hippies, and a lot of crystals, and she read poetry to me. I mean, it was like she was like a muse in a way to me. But I ruined the muse part, and I fell in love with her, and she was like, and so yeah, I'm the one. So I had that song forever. And then right before I joined Mr. Big, I want to say it was like 88. I think it was earlier, but me and this guy who I got set up with in a publishing company, his name is David Graham, sorry. And he goes, "What do you got?" And I wrote him, I played a couple songs. He goes, "Yeah, that's okay." He goes, "What do you got in your bag?" And I pulled out, it was like a big, it almost looked like a potato chip bag.
Yeah.
And reaching into the potato chips, and I pulled out the cassette of To Be With You. And I have a verse and I have a chorus, and I need a bridge. And he goes, "Well, let's hear it." And so we wrote it. And what he did to it was great too. I mean, he came up with that modulation. If you're a musician, so when it goes to in the chorus, when it goes to E and then plays the solo, and it's "Let me be the one to show you," and then it goes into to B, and then it goes back down to E. I mean, he thought of that, and I was like, that's really cool. And the way I had To Be With You, I was like, "I'm the one who was." I was more thinking Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah.
And he was cool. He goes, "We should do like a Beatles thing." And I remember he goes, I'm not quoting him verbatim, I'm just remembering that he goes, that song, "God, all we are saying."
John Lennon's song.
Yeah, "Give Peace a Chance." God. He goes, "Let's do it at that tempo." And so it was like, "I'm the one who was." That's how that came about. And we wrote it, and I shoved it in that bag, and I didn't talk. And we wrote another song, actually.
Yeah.
I've never told anybody this before. It's still in that bag, actually. So many years ago, it was called "Captured by Kathy's Kiss." And I had "Captured by Kathy's Kiss" and I had "To Be With You." And I played it for all kinds of people. And they were like, "Captured by Kathy's Kiss. Now that's cool." Right. And when I got together with Paul Gilbert, and I was going back and forth, and I played him "Captured by Kathy's Kiss," and he's like, "Eh." And I played him "To Be With You," and he goes, "Wow, it sounds so cool, like a Beatles song. We should do that." And at the time, our first album, it wasn't going to work at all. We wanted to go straight ahead rock and soul, whatever. And the Lean Into It came. He wrote Green Tinted 60s Mind. So I thought, well, since he wrote Green Tinted, and that's completely different than the, straight ahead rock and roll, I think I might have a chance to throw To Be With You back into the hat again.
Yeah.
And that's what that happened.
Awesome.
And I played maybe Paul played it for Billy or whatever, but Billy and Pat heard it, and our producer Kevin Nelson heard it, and they were like, "Man, that's a great song."
Yeah.
Nobody said, we never talked. That's a hit song. Yeah. Except one song in that Lean Into It album. I wrote a song with Andre Pessis called "Just Take My Heart."
Yeah, that's a beautiful song.
Yeah. And the story is completely true. And I wasn't in tears when I wrote it, but it was so emotional when I wrote it. Yeah. But after we were done with it, we both looked at each other and we went, "Hey, it might be a hit. Your sadness might be a hit," And so that was the only song really that maybe we go, "Hey, that could be a single."
Yeah.
What I was going to say, we didn't even think about To Be With You being a single. We just thought, we'll have all this meat and potatoes rock and roll, and we'll put To Be With You at the end of the record, and it'd be like a nice little like a nice little like a sorbet, not a sorbet, that's the beginning, but like a little dessert at the end of the big meal,
Yeah.
We didn't, everybody loved the song, but no way would maybe radio would play it, but no way would MTV put To Be With You on it, because back in those days, there wasn't any big ballad kind of thing. And then when Lean Into It came out, More Than Words had already come out.
Yeah.
And even before that, I think Tesla had a song called Love Song. Love is gonna find a way. And so that was a big thing. And I think To Be With You became #1 in America because of, you know, we caught the public on a good day. But, you know, just a long story short, I've said this a million times, and I just want to throw it out there just for your audience. But when Mr. Big, we were in Florida, ironically in Florida, we're playing a gig, and MTV said, now the #1 song on MTV, and I watched it, and then they go, and the #1 song in the country. I had no clue. Nobody read Billboard in our band. We were never in Billboard magazine. Why the hell are we going to start now? You know. So when I told the guys in the band, hey, we're #1, one of us was, maybe me, you know, flipping the back pages of Billboard. You know, we were #1 in America, but I'm flipping the back pages, and it had hits of the world on it. You know, if you see the middle of the Billboard magazine, it says hits of the world. So it's like, you know, Europe, South America, and Europe, and they'll name all the countries and everything. And I looked at it, and like, we were #1 in a couple countries, top 5, top 10, but we were on every chart in every country. And that blew my mind as well. So, yeah, I'm so glad that Paul Gilbert said, captured by Kathy's kiss is not going to cut it.
Awesome.
I mean, people are saying reunion implies that, you know, we're back together. I mean, look, we've always been together. We're still really, really good friends. Nothing's changed. You know, obviously when Pat Torpy passed away, took the wind out of our sails. You know, we toured a little bit. I think we went to Australia and Europe after Pat passed away with just Matt Starr. Matt was playing with us anyway, you know, when Pat was playing a Cocktail Kid on the side and singing, and Matt was Pat and Matt. That's confusing. And then Matt was doing the drums.
Yeah.
But yeah. So but then, you know, Pat's passing just took its toll on everybody, and we just kind of went into a permanent hiatus for a bunch of years. And obviously COVID happened and all that. But this is not really a reunion. Everybody says it's a reunion. It's a farewell tour is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a farewell. Who knows how long that tour will be? It won't, trust me, it won't be like a Kiss tour. It won't be like a Kiss tour at all. Okay. But it's the end. It's our last. It'll be our last touring time, you know.
Wow, amazing. I don't want you to go. The band goes away, because that's one of my favorite bands of all time, for sure.
I know, but nobody's sad about it.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I was like, we can't break. You know, like a couple times, the guys were like, "Man, you sure you want to do this anymore?" I'm like, "Yes, please." You know, but it's time. It's time. You know, I mean, everybody. You know, Billy Sheehan, man, he's in already. I mean, he's got a bunch of bands, but Winery Dogs is doing pretty good, and Sons of Apollo. Paul, all of his solo records, he still does that, and teaching and all that. And you know, when I was a bunch of years ago, I mean, I toured a little bit here and there, you know, maybe a couple months, maybe more than a couple months out of the year, maybe 3 months out of the year. And I was like, oh man, you know, when are we going to do a Mr. Big record? When are we going to tour? But nowadays, you know, I've got a lot of irons in the fire as well. I have the rock opera that I'm a part of, Avantasia. I toured for 10 months last year.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was gonna not retire, but I was gonna take it easy This year, because my two sons, Dylan and Jacob, they graduate from high school. I've been traveling so much that I'm missing out on their lives a little bit. I obviously I'm part of their lives. I'm their father, but when you travel on the road all the time, these guys, they got so much things going on. They're going to college soon. And I'm like, oh man, I need to be home.
Yeah.
And they graduate in June. And I thought, maybe I won't do anything till June, and maybe I'll do something at the end of the year. Already with Mr. Big touring, I got a South American tour coming up in March. I'm going out with Avantasia again. Got some sessions that I'm going to be doing, and it's like the Godfather thing. Every time I want to quit, they keep bringing me back.
Yeah. Next question. This is going to be one of the two last questions of this interview. Which are your favorite 5 songs from Mr. Big that you love to sing?
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of songs, but the first song that I heard from the band was "Nothing But Love," and I fell in love with the band. I think that's one of the most amazing songs I ever heard, and your voice is amazing. And then I started listening to this album right here. I don't know if you see it. This one, the live album.
That's my favorite live album. I mean, look, I love the Live at Budokan stuff, but I think the reason every time I look at that cover and how I'm looking up right in the middle, I'm looking at my mother.
Wow.
My mother, yeah, it was at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco. Most of the audience I already knew because, they were Mr. Big fans, of course, but I played the San Francisco Bay Area for a good portion of my life. My mother was in the balcony. I don't remember if they did sound on the floor or the balcony, but I kept looking at my mom. It was like right there, like at a sea of. I think the place only holds maybe 2,000 something people.
Yeah.
But my mom and sister and brother were, they were just there, and I was like,
wow.
That picture. But yeah, that's a great live. The night before, we were at a place called the Roseland Ballroom in Portland, Oregon, and that was better to me. I thought it was a better show because for me as a singer, I felt like. Yeah, I felt like I kicked ass in that show, and my throat kind of hurt, and we were kind of scratchy. I was really clean that night, but my throat was really scratchy the next day at the Warfield Theater. But when I listen to that record, I go, man, that sounded good with like some gravel.
Yeah.
And in the Japanese, they say, they go, your husky voice. Your husky voice.
Husky voice.
Yeah.
So that I ask you, which are your, if you have to pick 5 songs from Mr. Big?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah. I've been asked this kind of question before, and I always do the same thing where I'm like, oh God, it's so hard to pick. And look, yeah, my favorite 5 songs from Mr. Big, right? Daddy Brother.
Yeah.
Is always a go-to. I even play it when I want to do my acoustic shows, or I don't call them acoustic shows. I call box rocking. Daddy Brother is always the first song, even in Mr. Big too. Like I love the energy of that song, and the harmonies are kick ass. And when it goes into that second chorus of everything you're looking for, anything that it just feels really good on that song.
One of the things that I really love from that song is your high note falsetto that you do in the beginning. It's like this.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
I love that too. And I did it at the Warfield Theater. I did it so much in the beginning of Mr. Big, the Hat and Shoes album. and then lean into a tour. I did it so much that I killed myself.
Wow.
I don't know if I did it on Bump Ahead. I don't remember doing it on Hey Man. I just remember that somewhere along those lines of the 90s, the late 90s, it just disappeared because I sang, I mean, look, yeah, I could do that, but it was like that blood curdling Eric Martin scream. That was brilliant, but I had done that so much that I think I burnt out my voice doing it. And my falsetto comes and goes.
You still have it, because I watched a show from 2019, and the first thing you did, you start the show with that song. I don't know where it was, the show. I can't remember where, but you did that high note, and it was he still got it, you know.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, but if I still got it, I might have just had it that one gig or maybe a couple gigs after that. But it's throughout the Mr. Big things, I did it so much. I did it every night and I kicked ass, you know, but it comes and goes. It's hit or miss, as they say. Yeah. But I appreciate that. I know, what am I going to do? If I think, you know, I don't, if our farewell tour, people are going to go, oh, where's that scream? I'm like, almost like, here's the two things that people say all the time these days. Oh, where's that scream? Where's your hair? All right. So Daddy Brother, okay, come on, To Be With You. Hello.
Yeah.
I love singing To Be With You. Who wouldn't want to? I love singing it to begin with. It's a beautiful melody, lyrics, just, you know, simple and tells a great story. Those modulations, the big fat choir vocals, it's just so fun to sing. But and it was a #1 hit, so who wouldn't get tired of singing that, you know? I mean, it's exciting when you're like, hold on, little girl, and people like, even 30 years later, they're like, you know? Yeah. So Daddy Brother, To Be With You. I love that song I was saying about earlier, Never Say Never. We didn't play it that much. I really like that. And the other one, which was so fun to sing when I was younger. I'm older now, and it's so bloody high to sing. Lucky This Time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And even that live at the Warfield, I think it was like they did this Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin. I just love that. I don't know what they call it.
The riff.
That riff.
It's like a staccato.
No, I know what a riff is, you bumpkin. Yeah, no. Come on. But it's like, all right, but it's like you know, that thing.
Yeah.
We're called muting. Oh, look at you. You went from drummer singer to guitar hero. Yeah, muting. God damn, that's so cool when Paul Gilbert does that. But like, really cool tune. And maybe I'm channeling my best Paul Rogers when I'm singing it, you know. Paul Rogers, you know, not Dio, but, you know, somebody along that line. But nowadays, oh God, it's so difficult. But yeah, I have it. It's on vinyl. I can, and it's surround sound vinyl. So Lucky This Time, Never Say Never, Daddy Brother, To Be With You. One more.
Yeah.
Oh, hands down. Hands down. I don't know why I didn't think about it. I even dreamed about this last night. I thought, it sounds kind of generic now, but at the time, I thought it was so hip. Voodoo Kiss.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Voodoo Kiss. So when I was in the Eric Martin band in 1983, I did a little tour with ZZ Top, Night Ranger, the kind of bands like that. And wherever I think maybe we were in Mississippi, and then when we stopped doing our gigs with ZZ Top, we drove all the way back to San Francisco Bay Area, and we stopped in New Orleans to play a club show. And I went to a place called Madame Laveau's, Madame Laveau's. And it was like a voodoo type shop. You go in there and you get love potions and spells, and you'll hold up a glass and go, oh, what's this? And it's like some weird dead animal in it, and twigs and berries and eye of newt or some witch's brew. And you're like, yeah, what the hell is this? And I was just making a joke, and I go, hey, do you have any love potion? I'm kind of unlucky in love, and love potion. They go, oh God. And they're like, she's looking at me going, oh God, not one of these kids again coming in and stupid stuff. And it was like this little bottle, and it's like, yeah, this is voodoo medicine. Or no, I think she said this is I don't know how to spell it. It's French. Bon temps, like the good medicine, bon temps. B-O-N temps or whatever. Bon temps medicine. It's a voodoo kind of spell. So I still have it. I never opened it because it looks just, I'm sure if you open it, it would stink up the whole house. That was like, 40 years ago. So yeah, then I wrote the song about it, Voodoo Kiss. And I love the words. They're quirky and fun, kind of like just a satire of the voodoo world. I got the full fever, a black cat crossed my path, put a spell on me, Mademoiselle, which was Madame Laveau. I want somebody to love me bad. I want somebody to love me back. Or vice versa. And he goes, dig deep in the mojo, dig deep in the mojo. Bad luck run through my veins. Cook up some bon ton medicine to drive this curse insane. Anyway, yeah, Voodoo Kiss. That's one of my favorite on the record. Obviously, To Be With You, to sing it, and the harmonies, and it was number one. That's pretty exciting. Daddy Brother, Driving Rock and Roll. Lucky This Time, the song that, oh God, what am I going to do if they say, hey, let's do Lucky This Time on tour? I'm going to have to go.
Yeah, it's too high. It's too high.
I don't know about Mr. Big. I just know that we will be touring. There's changes every day, but it's going to be a few months from now. Obviously, we're going to, we haven't played together in a long time, so we're going to rehearse. Oh shoot, my big break. Who's my big break? Oh, hold on a minute. Hey, I'm doing an interview. I'll talk to you later, okay? Okay. So, yeah, I don't know about the Mr. Big thing, but like when we have conversations about where we want to go, I mean, I've written tons of emails saying we got to do this, and we got to play the US, we got to play Europe, and we have to play South America. Because South America has been fresh on my mind. I'm telling you, this is going to be like the third time in a year and a half, or a year and 1 month. And yeah, we got to do that. I am probably going to come back to Argentina as a solo guy. We'll see about Avantasia. It's fresh on everybody's mind. Everybody wants to explore. I can't even think of the words right now. Explorer. I'm trying to sound smart. Yeah, Argentina is definitely in our sights to play.
Awesome.
And what was your other part of the question?
What are your thoughts about the Argentinian audience?
Well, I mean, I just only a couple months ago, I was
Teatrito.
Yeah. Badass. I mean, just everybody wants to go to Argentina. Yeah. What is the reason, you think? Because just they've kept rock and roll alive, where it's kind of wavered in other countries, you know. Well, you would, you know, back in the day, it would be like, oh, you got to go to Europe because they love metal. And then, you know, and then they go, oh, Germany only loves metal. You know, that's not the case. Yeah. But, you know, it's fickle. It changes all the time. USA, there was a period where like rock and roll was dead. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't dead in our hearts. You know, we still, you know, kept that torch burning. But radio, they didn't play us, you know, and this was, and then Sirius Radio came about and brought rock and roll back to life and everything. Well, South America, Argentina, Latin America, never wavered. They've kind of always kept it on the forefront with, you know, radio and all the concerts, you know.
I think it's a mixture of football and soccer and music. I mean, the way we love bands like Mr.BIG and I don't know, Kiss and all those bands. It's like the passion, the music drive. We go crazy with this band.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, hey, you don't have to say soccer for me, okay? I know what football is, and I especially know Argentinian football because woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
World Cup champions.
Won. I watched that. Oh my God, I was so excited. I have so many friends of mine. One of my agents from Chile is from Argentina, actually. And I called him up, and him and his son, Facundo, were just freaking out. You know?
Awesome. Well, it has been an amazing experience. It's a tremendous honor for me making this interview and talking with one of my idols. And I really love your voice, and what you did with Mr.BIG is just amazing. Playing with Billy and Paul and of course Pat. You guys have been a great influence for musicians to all over the world, and we really thank you for all that. So, and I thank you for the time and obviously taking the second opportunity to get inside of the second link because normally people
it's all good. It's all good. Thanks for the compliments, Pablo. I really had a great interview with you. I mean, it's fun. I don't know what, you know, you made me feel so comfortable, and I'm just kind of going. And then once in the stories, I mean, you were the one who asked me about Lean Into It, and I can't believe we only did 2 parts.
Yeah,
it would take for it. Yeah, I mean, I have way more stories than that. So if you ever wanted to call me again, I'll pick the phone up.
All right. That's gonna be an honor. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for everything.
All right. You take care, brother.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.